Alright, so welcome to our introduction to Blender. Once you open Blender, you could actually see here the 3D workspace. Now let's look into the different parts of Blender's user interface. On the left side of the screen, you can see the toolbar. The toolbar allows you to select. Let us move past the 3D cursor, which is something that we will discuss later. Next is the Move tool. With the Move tool, you can actually see the gizmo. It allows you to move the objects. You can also see the Rotate tool and the Scale tool. On the right side of your 3D workspace, it allows you to move around the workspace by clicking and holding it. If you want to move around using the mouse, what you need to do is press the middle button to rotate around your workspace. Hold Shift and middle mouse button to pan side to side. Then if you want to zoom, just use your scroll wheel. Alright. So again, if we want to move your objects using the Move tool, the Rotate, and the Scale, so press G. Okay. Press G, then press Z. Right click to let go. Press G. Press X as a combination. Right click to let go. Press G, press Y. So you can move side to side. Right click to let go. Alright. So when it comes to rotation, you press R for rotation. So press R. Then you can do a free rotation. Or press R, then Z. So you can rotate on the Z axis. Right click to let go. Press R, then X. Alright. Right click to let go again. Press R, press Y. Alright. So it constrains the rotation. Alright. Then press Scale is S. So you can scale universally in all directions. Pero if you want to scale up, you press S, then you press Z. Alright? Or scale to the front or scale to X. Or right click again, press scale, then press Y. Alright? So that's how you do it. So another shortcut for the tools is Shift Spacebar. Alright, so Shift Spacebar, Shift Spacebar, Shift Spacebar, Shift Spacebar. Alright. So since I'm coming from the Maya environment, mas sanay ako na nakikita ko yung gizmo. So it's very convenient na I would, just move a gizmo instead of memorizing the X, the Y, and the Z. So ano na lang ako, I'm very visual. So yun yung ginagamit ko. Okay, pero pwede naman na So G, S, pag hindi pala sa X direction, you just go to G tapos Y. Alright? So those are some of the ways that you could actually manipulate the objects. Alright? So alright, if you move your mouse here on the viewport shading, when you press this, it becomes a wireframe. Right? Then when you press this one, it actually shows the default shading. Right? And this one is the material. So since we don't have materials attached yet, so it's just basically white. Then this one is the rendered view. Alright? So we'll just stick with the default shading. Alright? So try to practice moving around. Okay? So zoom in, zoom out. All right. Now, the next thing is when you press N, try to press N. When you press N, you could actually see the transform information. So here you can see the location. So it has a certain value. I'll just default it on 0. So the 0 here is in the middle of the grid, right? Then there are no rotations. If you could see here, walang rotation. Tapos, when it comes to the scale, it's X, Y, and Z. So it has a scale on X and Y and Z. So we can actually return it to the original size. Okay? So nawala siya. So wala siyang scaling. Dapat, it should be 1, 1, and 1. Alright? So ito yung original na size niya. The ones in default as 0 is location and rotation. But the scale is always 1. Okay? Nagigets niya? Comment lang kayo. Just type your question if nahihirapan kayo, ha. Ikaw, Dalin, okay pa? Alright, sige. The next thing that we can do is try to practice probably building a wall. Okay? Na-try nyo na bang mag-Minecraft? So, anyway. What we're just going to do is duplicate this object. Okay? So, the way to duplicate the object is you press Shift D. Okay? So, Shift D. So, Shift D. Alright? So, when you Shift D, it actually attaches itself. Alright? But the problem here is, if you do it like this, okay, tapos you click out, hindi siya pantay. Alright? So, the best thing to do when you duplicate stuff is Shift D, tapos click, then you move it. Okay? Oops. Yan. Alright? If you want it to stick, as in, edge to edge, what you can do is turn on this, snap yung magnet. Do you see it? Okay. You can turn this on and off. Okay. But for now, let's turn it on. Alright. So, turn on the magnet so that it could snap. Okay. Let me remove this kasi may space eh. So, let me duplicate it again. Tapos, click. Okay. That is left click, not right click. So, right click. Left click. Yeah, para mabitawan siya. Then, you move it like that. So, it sticks edge to edge. Alright? Then, Shift D again. Then, click. Shift D. Then, click. Okay. Shift D. Try natin. So, it sticks. Yun. Okay. Then, Shift D. And there. Alright. Now, you can also select using the brush the selection, the box selection tool. Okay? You can select it like this. Box select, duplicate it, then move your mouse to the side. Okay? Alright. Then let's try and manipulate this. So let's try and scale this in x and y. Let's make it 2 on x, then 2 on y. Alright? So it has an exact same value. So click this one also. You can also use the scale tool, right? It's just that you can't somehow put the right value in. So the way to do this without going through the transform properties or attributes is when you scale, press S, then press X, then press 2. Alright? Then scale, press S, press Y, press 2. Okay? So there are shortcuts to scale or move around by typing in values. Alright? So that's some of the ways to actually to do it. Okay? So let's try and duplicate this. Alright? And press G, press Z to move it up. Okay. Then we'll try to scale it in X. So press S, then X, then 4. Alright, something like that. Okay. Or what we can try and do is let's make it 3 na lang. So S, then Y, then 3. Oops, sorry. So press S, X, then 3. Yan. Alright. So move around so you could actually see. Let's make this a bit thicker. So you could just use this. So you don't have to be very exact with the transformation. Okay. The way you would just use exact measurements if it's you're doing an architectural visualization, that is when you're going to really make use of the scale in an exact value. Okay, but for now we could just scale it however we want it, right? So something like that. Okay, so there, so you could go around, right? So let me let's try add objects to add objects. So by adding object, so you go here, so you have view, select, add. So in the add menu, you could actually see here what you could add. So you could add mesh like a plane, a cube, a circle, a UV sphere, iconosphere, cylinder, cone, and torus. These are curves, which we will go through next time. So most of what we'll do actually would encompass on using meshes. So when you use mesh, so this is a plane. So let's scale the plane. So press S, right? Then let's add another mesh, a cube. Sorry, cube. Yan. So here's a cube, right? So this is the cube. You can also use the shortcut key, Shift A, right? So Shift A means to add objects. Okay. So Shift A. Let's add a circle. The circle here is just edges. All right. So Shift A. A UV sphere. So this is the polygon sphere. Then we have an iconosphere. Right. Then Shift A. A cylinder. Oops. So we have a cylinder here, then a cone, and a torus, right? So tong torus na to is like a donut, right? So let's try and add again. Alright, so here in the torus, in the transform values, you can actually see the dimensions. So X and Y, scale, so on and so forth. Right? So, alright, so there you go. So ito yung donut eh. Okay? Okay? So, iwan nyo to sa side ah. I want you to create also the objects, pero put it on the side. Okay? Alright, next we're going to create a simple animation using the physics-based animation in Blender. Passive, active. Alright, so this is active. Okay. So what I would do is move some of the spaces, the objects. Okay. So there you go. Right? So you can actually create simulations. Alright. Okay. So this is a simulation coming from Blender's physics. Alright. So we just put it back. Alright. Gets nyo? What we're going to do is build a house. Okay? So, we're going to use the simple blocks. We're going to scale it, then rotate it just to create a house. Alright? So, let's try and add a cube. Alright? So, here's a cube. Let me just move the floor so we could see the grid. Remember that the grid here, 1 square is 1 meter. Alright? So, 1 unit is 1 meter already. So, this particular cube is already 4 units. So, this is 2 by 2. So, it's 2 meters by 2 meters. Alright? So, what we're going to do is scale it so that we can make a wall. Alright? So, we're going to scale it on the y-axis. So, rotate, then go to the green. Right? So, in the y-axis. So, we don't have to be really exact on the measurement. So, let's just do a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So, 10 units. Then, scale it up. At around 4, I think. Okay. Okay. So, this would be one of our walls. Okay. Alright. So, just try to count around 10 units. Or something close to 10. Alright? So, the next thing we're going to do is duplicate it. So, Shift D. Alright? So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Alright? Then we can duplicate this again. So, duplicate. Move it to the center. Then we have to rotate this on 90 degrees. So, rotate this on Z, right? So, press R, then Z, then 90. Right? Or, you could go here on the rotation tab, then press 90 degrees. Right? Then move it to the back. Alright? Let's just move our walls to the edges. Okay. Let's remove the magnet so we could make the walls stick to each other. Then duplicate this again and put it in front. Alright? Then let's add a roof to this. Okay, so the way we can add a roof here is add another cube. Alright, so here's a cube. The way that we can shape this into a triangular roof is we have to do component editing. Alright, so we just scale this. Alright, then scale it down. Alright, what we need to do is make the top smaller on the y-axis, right? So the way we can edit this is when you press tab or go to edit mode. Okay, look at the screen. So go to edit mode. Alright, then here in the edit mode you can find the vertex. So there are three components. You have the face, the edges, and the vertices. Alright, so here you can look at, you can see the options for each of the components. Right, so you can press 1. Okay, so press 1, press 2, then press 3. So 3 is faces, 2 is edges, 1 is vertex. Okay, so dito sa tabi ng edit mode, you have the vertex select, then you have the edge select, and the face select. Alright, so we have to go to the face select, which is this one. So press 3. Alright, click the top face. Then I would want to scale it here. Oops, sobra. Yan. So I want to scale it in that direction. Then I would want to also scale it like this to form the house. Alright, So in order for you to get out of the edit mode, you can press tab or go here on the edit mode and click object mode. Alright? So there's just one intro to modeling. Alright? So we just want this piece to look like a roof. Alright? This particular exercise, I would want you to just get used to the navigation in order for you to move around. Okay? So the next thing that we're going to do is again add another cube, pull it out, and let's try to make a door. Right? So the door is just a proxy. Okay, it's just a proxy door. So we have to stick it to the wall. Alright. We're just trying to exercise our navigation skills. Right? So we're not trying to make art, we're just practicing. Okay? So temporarily, this will be like our door. Okay? We can also add a doorknob. So Shift A, then add a UV sphere, then pull it out like so. Scale it, press S, then put it in your door like so. Right? So these are just temporary placeholders that we're making. Right? So there. Okay. Now we can also make windows. We're not cutting holes yet kasi that would be sub-editing, sub-component editing. So for now, we'll just be editing the objects, right? Like so. Then we're going to stick it to the wall. Right? Shift D. Shift D again. Then copy this, so duplicate the middle one, then rotate on no, it's rotate on Y 90 degrees, then scale on X like so. Alright, if it doesn't fit, we'll just make adjustments. So Shift D again to move it down like that. Alright, then we can in order for you to multiple select, so click, shift click, holding shift, then click, click, and click. Then Shift D, bring it to the other side, and just stick it to the wall. Alright? So something like that. We can also add a chimney here. So Shift A, let's add a cube, move it up, then to the side. Let's scale it to Z, something like that. Right? Let's duplicate this, then move it upward, scale it down. Right? Then let's scale it to make it bigger, then scale on Z to make it narrower, then put it on top so that it looks like that it has a chimney, right? Something like that. Then we can try and add um, what can we try and add? Let's try and add a fence. Okay. Are you still able to follow? Just comment on the chat box. Right, so I'm going to scale this on Y. Alright. Dalin, ikaw, are you still getting it? Magtanong ka lang. Okay, sige, good. Alright, so we're going to make a fence and stick it to the floor. Alright. Then we're going to Shift D to duplicate. Apologies for my mouse kasi I have problems with my mouse so probably have to buy a new one. Alright. So duplicate the fence like so. Alright. Shift click the other fence. Alright. Then move it to the other side. Something like that. Okay. Then we can select the other fences. Shift D. Then move it to the back. Then we can use the box select to select all of the fence panels. Shift D. Oops. Then select one of the fence again. Then there you go. Right. So we can like move our view like this. So we can use the box select. Shift D. Then move all of it. Right. Then rotate it on Z on 90 degrees. Alright, so just drag everything and rotate it. Okay. If you try and rotate it using the rotate in 90 degrees, it's just going to transform one of the objects. So what we're trying to do is transform everything. Alright, so if ever you see your objects that looks a bit different compared to this one, what you need to do is just select this and right click to shade flat. Alright? So if the other models looks a bit dark, it means it's shaded differently. So just select those objects that is looking a bit dark, then shade it flat. Alright? Then use the box select. If you want to unselect an object, you have to hold shift and click twice. Like hold shift, click, and click again until it's no longer highlighted. Like for example, this one. Oops. And if you can't get it, just do another selection. Alright, what I did was I just angled my camera like this and do a box selection so that I could select everything without selecting the others. Right, I need to duplicate one of the fences and make it a support to the fence. So we just rotate on X 90 degrees. Then put it in the back. Then scale on Y. Right? So let's do the same thing here. Shift D, rotate on X. Oops. Rotate on Y. Alright. Then we can scale on Y also. Oops. Scale on X. So if ever you're losing space on your scale, you could actually just drag your mouse across the screen. Okay? Alright. Then select the other support panel, then Shift D. Then move it to the other side. Okay guys, kung meron kayong number pad on your keyboard, you can press 1 sa front, press 3 sa side, press 7 for the top view. So those are some of the shortcut keys that you could actually use. All right. Let me just do some correction on my scale. I'm just trying to eyeball this, so then get this other support, put it here. Then move. Shift D. Right. So the ones in the back, let's just duplicate this again and stick it here. Right. What I'm going to do now is just edit this on the edit view. So I'll press 1 to go to the vertex mode. I'm going to select this, then move it. I'm moving the vertex point so that I don't have to move and scale, right? Then I'm going to tab out, press tab again, right? Then shift D, press G, then press Z, then move my mouse again. So I think I really need to buy a mouse. So mahirap talaga. So don't forget to save your work, okay? So save it on your desktops or your documents, okay? So label it as activity 1. All right? Okay? So I'm going to make a Facebook group